distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and salam sejahtera. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to the second session, Driving Smart Manufacturing in Selangor towards green production and also green logistics. I think this morning we have three distinguished speakers who are the movers and shakers of the industry. Let me introduce first is Ms. Meg Ng, Selangor and KL Branch Chairman, Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, FMM. Second speaker is Dato Azman Shah Muhammad Yusof, the CEO of Northport, Malaysia. And thirdly is Dato Abdul Rashid Musa, Group Chief Mobility and Innovation Officer, and also President of Aerospace Division of UMW Holdings. I think before we begin, I just would like to give you some background and a scenario. I think in a fast-changing world, transforming business strategy to become sustainable has become a business imperative for all companies. We know that with change come challenges, but with change also comes an opportunity. I think last week, International Renewable Energy Agency, or IRENA, mentioned that Malaysia needs to invest about USD 375 billion in renewables to reach 2050 climate change goals, to expand renewables capacity and also infrastructure and into energy efficiency. For this, I'll give our speaker just to elaborate more on that. Let me invite the first speaker, Ms. Meg. Thank you.
Very good morning to my fellow panel speakers, audience. Okay, when you're talking about renewable energy, how important it is to for us industry players, right? Because currently, with the increase in the ICPT, of course, everyone is affected by the utility cost. You know, it has risen by about maybe 40%. So when you're talking about this, I think solar panel would be, you know, one of the very good investments. Actually, my company did subscribe to the G-Spark's Zero Capex, which really helped us. We signed up before the MCO without any investment. The returns are not great, but right now we do see a lot of benefits in the sense that, you know, we do not need to pay ICPT for the power generated by the solar panels. And also we have fixed, you know, the max rates. We save on that a lot. And then when sustainability, when you talk about sustainability, ESG is now one of the trends, or rather the main trend for most industries to adopt. Okay, we're looking at the environment, social responsibility, you know, governance, and even when you're going for bank loans, the bank will also need to see your ESG report. So every industry must, I mean, it is a must for us to actually invest and look at how we can drive this into our own manufacturing practices. And it's not a one size fits all. We just need to see whichever, I mean, first of all, take baby steps and see which is more relevant for us to implement. And not only that, we have to also consider, I mean, ESG, of course, there are many areas that you can look into, right? It can start from small steps like within the factory and the office premise, you know, how we can actually reduce the usage of consumption of electricity, like switching off lights when we don't need it, the aircon, the laptops, and all. These are the small steps that we need to make awareness amongst all our staff so that everybody takes a part, as the Malay saying goes, stick it, lama-lama jadi bukit, you see. So we start from within, and then after that, company will do the relevant investments, yeah, and the corporate governance as well, and social responsibility. So talking about sustainability, okay, how this is important for all industries is because that will also help us to thrive through the MCO. We are, all of us are here because we saw the MCO through, and we are all still surviving. And we are still struggling. It's not something smooth sailing, but the challenges were very tough for us, but we still manage. So sustainability, like how we source our raw materials, as the cost of doing business increases, everything is on the rise, but the price of our products cannot be increased, which is a challenge for all the industries. Yeah, so we need to manage that well, as to be able to still be in the market. Yeah, and also we need a lot of government support when it comes to logistics, green logistics. Yeah, the roads especially. Yeah, for the lorries to commute to the ports, I think they need to have special lanes, so that it doesn't, for people who need to commute to work, they will not have to go through that jam, and especially when there are floods, there's a big challenge as well. Coming back to CLQs as well, okay, for sustainability, because should be end of this month, the TLQ's deadline on 31st March is drawing very near, but as FMM, as we are the voice for our industries, we're also talking to the Selangor government to have this extended and to work together with us, identify, very good locations instead of just building and you do not get, the industries to subscribe to it because of, first of all, logistics again, and it's not near any of our factories. So actually we did approach the state government and they are listening, and they would also work together with us because FMM has, in Selangor and KL alone, we have 1,700 members, So we really need the government to listen on these CLQs as well, to provide, of course, right now, even before the CLQs were implemented, I'm sure most of the industry players, most of the factories, they provide adequate accommodation, So even before that, we were already complying to it. So once the government came up with this regulation, so we didn't find much of a problem. But our only request is for the CLQs to be more at more appropriate locations, so that and also the pricing must be affordable, because right now we are managing well with our own TLQ. So we just hope that, the government can listen to us and maybe accept our TLQs, to be CLQs as well. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, right now, can we move to our second speaker, Dato Azman? How do you see the movements towards the green production in the logistic business and also for Northport especially? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just as a matter of introduction, I am the CEO of Northport, and Northport basically consists of the operations of two ports, South Point and also Northport. South Point is 122 years old, and Northport will be celebrating our 60th year of operations at Northport this year. So we are basically, how should I say, ancient in that sense. So for all the talk about sustainability, investment, what do you call it, 4.0, Industrial Revolution 4.0, and so on and so forth. I think it's very challenging for us, in essence, to move away from what we have actually been operating at that level. But nevertheless, ESG is very, very important to us. And we have this saying in Northport now, life begins at 60. So we are re-strategizing. We are basically looking at how to improve ourselves. Obviously, automation, digitization, and so on and so forth works better when you are a greenfield development. You can start from scratch. Basically, you have a white piece of paper and you color it whatever way you like. In our field, obviously, it is crucial to remain open. Maybe I'll just share one particular statistic which did not really come out clearly during the first panel session. Port Klang, I speak for both Northport and Westport. Port Klang is the 12th busiest port in the world. And in spite of the double perfect economics, a perfect storm of the COVID-19 and also the floods in December 2021, Port Klang actually broke its throughput record in 2021. We were just 20,000 TEU short of beating Dubai into 11th place. Yeah? And this is in the face of pandemic, the floods and so on and so forth. At the same time, the Royal Bank of Canada did a study on 22 major ports in the world during the 2-year pandemic phase, and basically found that Port Klang was actually the most efficient in terms of vessel turnaround time of 1.7 days per vessel, as opposed to all the digitized, automated ports in the world. Yeah, so we do have that strength. Basically, we just need to find a way to actually improve it, and also to meet the clarion call of being sustainable. Yeah, and we are doing that. At this point in time, the ports realize that our sector basically is one of the biggest carbon emission polluters basically in the world, and we are taking steps to improve that situation. We are doing the baseline study. We have, as per what Meg also mentioned, a very strict rule with regards to procurement. We have a green procurement policy. We have a team that goes around and issue summon to our staff for leaving their aircon open and the lights on when there's nobody in the room. We are moving towards that. But to say that we want to go and do a big bang, turn everything into electrified or hydrogen, the cost is tremendous, yeah, and the technology is still unproven. And we can't afford to slow down our operations when operations to be competitive against our nemesis Singapore. Basically, we need to be productive and efficient. So this is where it is a balancing act. Yeah, with regards to everything else, we're talking about diversity. I mean, I think 2 weeks ago in Bulletin TV3, you saw that Northport has got rubber tire gantry operators who are female. Yeah, so diversity is not an issue. Social is not an issue. Governance, we have been very strict about this for the last 7 years since I've been on board. But it is actually that element, that big ticket item of carbon emission. Yeah? And it has to be not one company driving it, but it has to be the whole value chain moving towards it. Yeah. So the shipping lines, definitely they are also looking into this in a big way. Some are using the transitional energy source of LNG. Yeah. There are others who are doing experiments on methanol, on hydrogen. Again, the technology is not yet fully developed, because if you have the product, if you don't have the ecosystem, it's going to be a problem. Just like promoting the use of EV cars. Where do you charge your battery or your car when you are traveling on the highway, especially with the traffic jam and so on and so forth. So all these issues need to be sorted out before you can actually move towards and embrace ESG or whatever initiatives in a very big way. For us, basically, I think we've done quite well for ourselves in the sense that we were the first port in Malaysia to actually fix solar panel roofs on our warehouses. Yeah, we have been doing rainwater harvesting for the longest time. Basically, we have done some proof of concept for LNG powered prime movers, again, to find out really whether it makes sense in terms of CBA for us to actually embrace that and to use that. But again, this is a long struggle, but we need to work together. We're very thankful that the government has given green investment tax allowances for everybody, basically. But that's the key issue here. How fast can we progress, and and whether or not we can work together as one, as a value chain moving forward. But definitely, it's something that we want to do. Yeah, we're really looking forward to see the technological advancements and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dato. Let me move on to Dato Rashid. How do you see the movement in terms of green production in aerospace manufacturing?
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Rashid, presenting EMW. So probably I would like to start with introducing my company first. EMW is a 105 years old company. It's 105 years old. It started in 1917 actually, yeah. And we are involved in 4 core businesses. Number 1 is automotive. We are the brand owner of Lexus, Toyota, and also Produa. Secondly, we are also representing Komatsu and Toyota Forklift in equipment division. And thirdly, on M&E, manufacturing and engineering, we make parts and components, and also lubricant business. We also in lubricant business. We have factory in Malaysia and also in China. And the latest addition of the group is actually Aerospace. So most of our investments are actually in Selangor, right? Probably I will tell more about Aerospace, our experience. We just started the business in 2015 when we signed the 25 plus 5 years contract with Rolls-Royce. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the government of Malaysia and also the state government of Selangor to make it happen. If not, it will not happen. Because when Rolls-Royce actually given us the task to be the tier 1 company to supply engine parts to them, so it's quite challenging, and we have to complete within short period of time. Normally, people graduate from tier 3 to tier 2, tier 2 to tier 1, then become OEM, so on. But for us, we don't have any direct experience in aerospace, but with support from federal and also state government, it make it happen. And in fact, in 2018, we won the award by Rolls-Royce. They call it Best to Deliver in 2018. And a year later, 2 years later, then we were inducted into high performing supplier group that make EMW Aerospace in the top 5% of global suppliers of Rolls-Royce. And last year, we were awarded as the best practice supplier of Rolls-Royce globally. Yeah. So I think Malaysia have a chance to excel in this business, and aerospace actually give a very good so-called the adoption of technology, the latest technology as compared to other industry. So there's high level of automation, digitalization that's adopted, and in fact it's 10 times more productive than automotive. Because Malaysia, if you look at the numbers, I have the numbers in 2019. Example for automotive is about 50 billion revenue that's generated from 700,000 workforces, right? But not all are actually high skill. But for aerospace in 2019, our revenue generation is about 16 billion and only generated from 25,000 workforce. So you multiply that by 3, we can match that automotive, and the numbers of employees involved is only 75,000. So it makes it 10 times more productive. And I think Malaysia have a good chance to excel as stated in RMK 12 to make aerospace as the so-called high impact economy. I think by Mike, there's a blueprint mentioned about National Aerospace Industry Blueprint in 2030. It was launched in 2015, and to make Malaysia the hub for manufacturing, MRO, and even design as well for aerospace. So that's a journey that we have entered into, and it's quite fulfilling. Of course, we were hit badly during COVID, but we're coming back strong. I think we are riding on the recovery of air traffic traveling. So I believe that Malaysia should take this opportunity to ride on this new growth economy, whereby we have less competitor amongst ASEAN countries to do so. Thank you.
Okay, I just would like to give a comment. I think COVID-19 has changed consumer behavior now and also forever. For example, like last month, according to the Real Estate and Housing Developers Association radar, developers now are working on a new house design to fit working from home because of trends. How do you see the trends for the future, for example, in manufacturing? Let me give the floor to Ms. Mac. Yeah, how do you see the trends for manufacturing in the future?
The trend for manufacturing. Of course, when it comes to being sustainable, you have to be sustainable to continue in the business, okay? So the trend now would be people are more focusing on the ESG, right? Environmental, social, and governance at the same time. The carbon emissions, we also have to look at it, as, we take care of the ozone, the use of plastics, we have to also think of supply chain as well, the supply chain, and especially when, my company is export oriented. We export 95% of our products. So our customers will also look at how well we actually take on the ESG. We of course doing it step by step. We cannot be, we are starting with the ESG report. When you're talking about, the banks will also come and ask us, especially, when my company is concerned, we do not get any government grants or whatever. It's self-sustaining. So we have to look at our procurement as well. Not only that, the logistics, and of course the production, how we're gonna, automate, automation, how we're gonna put all these AI, IoT, incorporate all. But it is not that we can do everything at one go. So we need to prioritize, for the future of manufacturing, and of course on how we leverage to bring down the cost of production, to stay competitive with, in the market. And our customers will also look at, our, what do you call that? Our ESG and what kind of improvements, especially, So we have to really, sit down and, think of how we should handle this. And it has to start from the top management. The board has to be involved, and the senior leaders to drive it. So to remain sustainable, of course, is everybody's, is most of the industry players' desire. But then again, there are many different aspects, of different industries that we are looking at. So I think generally we as FMM, as we move on, being very engaging with the government, so we are more advantaged, to speak up and, be the voice, and the government will listen to all, most of our suggestions, and they will give consideration. So, we are advantaged at that level for manufacturing, yeah.
Let me now move to Dato Azman. How do you see the trends in logistic business in the future? Because COVID is changing the consumer demands. How do you see the logistics?
Well, it shouldn't just be taken as COVID being the be all and all, basically. I think we have a few other VUCA elements lah. You got your geopolitical tensions, you've got the war at the moment, and there's a lot of this inward-looking aspirations of certain countries as well. But what really COVID did was to disrupt totally the global supply chain as we know it. Yeah, and because of that, the trends that we saw previously of globalization is slowing down. I think some experts are already talking about or coining the term globalization. Yeah, globalization, but albeit at a slower pace. Why? Because the supply chain has been disrupted. Yeah, we benefited from it obviously because we were there ready and waiting, and we did not shut down our operations at all throughout the pandemic. Yeah. We had, I think if I recall correctly, in 2021 or 2020, sorry, Indian ports started to close down. And then throughout 2021 and 2022, you had China and their zero COVID policy happening. So that represented opportunities and also caused a rethink amongst all of the MNCs of this world. So then a new set of thinking emerged. Yeah? People are no longer talking about JIT, just-in-time manufacturing. They're talking about JIC now, just in case. Yeah? And people are talking about offshoring, meaning, or nearshoring, meaning that if you are basically operating in China or some of these other countries, you do not want to be caught with your pants down, where, you know, if there is a lockdown, your goods cannot be exported or cannot be distributed. So then people started talking about, you know, I need to have production outposts, I need to have distribution hubs in other countries. And that basically represents a very good opportunity and a trend that Malaysia should capitalize on. We heard this morning in the panel session that Selangor, especially, has got a fantastic, fundamentals in terms of the facilities, the infrastructure, and a lot of land as well. So, and when the government announced, the Rancangan Selangor Pertama, I was quite happy to see what the elements were, in essence, because we are talking about game changer projects, yeah, game changer projects that actually will fit into the new norm. So there's a lot of opportunities for Selangor, for Malaysia in particular, to actually start looking at selling ourselves as a regional distribution hub. Albeit the fact that, you know, our biggest competitor, Singapore, is actually having land issues. They are basically now building vertically. They don't have large tracts of land, and they are concentrating on high value added sectors, you know, like life sciences and biomedical and so on and so forth. So there is this gap that somebody has to fill. And that is where Selangor and Malaysia can take advantage. So the trend that I'm looking at basically is this, rising from COVID and all the other VUCA elements basically, is that Malaysia and Selangor can actually play the role of a regional distribution hub. And if we play that role together with the elements of green, yeah, because that's the way to go. You're talking about solar panels on the rooftop, you're talking about smart buildings, you're talking about green buildings, you're talking about building with nature, trying to do as less disruption to the environment. I think we stand a very good chance. Yeah, and to me, basically, once that is sorted out, that we identify these kind of industries and we target them and we bring them in, it should be met with basically another element, which is working together as a value chain. Yeah, and this is where I think the government plays a very important role. It should be providing a one-stop center meaning all the regulators and all that are sitting at the same table, not one-stop center as in I give the application and it stops there. Yeah, basically you need to have that kind of environment or ecosystem that basically gives an advantage, or in order for us to take advantage of this new trend in the manufacturing and globalization kind of world, basically. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, then move on to Dato Rashid. I think, how do you see the trends in the aerospace industry, aerospace manufacturing? I think we used to have, before COVID, we used to have a bigger airplane, A380. Right now, they are shifting more towards a smaller plane for regionals, and also, how do you see the trends for this?
Okay. As you know, the aerospace industry adopting a lot of new technology. So to embrace this new industry, we need to be prepared and ready. So people sometimes ask me about how do we migrate from automotive example to aerospace. I think there are new rules now. First about ESG. So we need to, first embrace and practice ESG, because that is the pre-qualification to be in this industry. So we need to have that so-called roadmap and also must practice this. What we have done actually in UMW is that we've just established an R&D center also in Selangor State. It's called UMW Innovation and R&D Center, whereby we focus on green innovations. We work with government agencies and also local universities to develop new technologies. In fact, these technologies are on display outside this room. So there are 3 core things actually that we have done. In fact, that enabled us also to win the award as best practice in aerospace among 705 global suppliers of Rolls-Royce. Yeah. The first thing is about battery revival system, whereby we can actually revive the dead battery. If you have any dead batteries, it can be car battery, forklift battery, it can be solar battery as well. So we can revive that for 2 cycles. We have given the so-called certification by SIRIM and also MDTC. So we got My Hijau certificate for that. And secondly, we also came out with a second innovation, biolubricants, meaning that this lubricant is non-toxic. So to cover scope 1 and scope 2, I think we need for green, so we need to have this solution. So hydraulics, biolubricants, whereby if you are actually leaks or whatnot on the ground, they will not damage environment. So we have that outside as well. And we work that innovation with UPM. So the unique thing about this innovation is that we managed to convert palm oil without the process of esterization. Normally, there are actually biolubricant sold outside there, but the price is very expensive, 5 to 7 times more expensive than the conventional oil. But what we came up with UPM is the same price parity with the conventional lubricant. So you don't have to pay more. In fact, you can save money by being green. Right? That's the second one. And thirdly, we work with UTM, University of Technology Malaysia, to produce our own membrane to filter water. So currently Malaysia is importing about 2 billion value of membrane, like filtration for Kowe or cocoa or whatnot. So we have a first ever pilot plant in Serenda. So you're most welcome to visit us. That we produce our own membrane. We would like to assist BNB, our so-called colleague in industry, to reduce their cost. Because soon, the government, I think luas under Lembaga Urus Air Selangor will start introducing, they call it zero discharge payment that you have to pay, not only paying for the water that you use, when you discharge the water, you also need to pay a certain penalty. So our solution will be able to help you to reduce your payment for this penalty. We can recycle the wastewater of Schedule A or B that goes to the drain and back to your industry. So we actually already done it at Kayaba, about 100 meter cube per day, 100 meter cube per day. They're paying about 20,000 ringgit water bill a month. Now they have actually reduced that to half. And we are also doing it now, ongoing, for Toyota and also Produa. We can share these innovations that help Malaysian industry to be green and yet reduce their costs. So 3 solutions: battery management, revival system. Second is on biolubricant hydraulics. And thirdly, water reclamation plant. Thank you.
If I may add on, talking about the future of the manufacturing industry, we have to look at smart factories, automation, and technology, because all these combined together would actually help us to reduce our dependency on labor. Foreign labor now is quite a big issue, and then the recent announcement that they have stopped, processing our quotas, so we need to look at that, on automation, how we look at automation. It doesn't mean like, buying new machines, we could make use of the current machine, which my factory is doing, getting the provider to do retrofitting, which is actually much cheaper. And then, of course, technology is something that none of us can avoid, as we move into this advanced technology age. So IoT, big data, we all have to collect all these. So, and most important also to invest in cybersecurity, because, most industries, or anyone for that matter, is actually exposed, or rather is open to cyber attacks. So when that happens, it's going to cost the company a lot of money to recover, whatever that has been ransomed. Yeah. So we have to look at all these to remain, if you are to continue in the business and to be sustainable, right?
Okay, let me open to the floor if there's any question from the floor. Okay. If there's no question, I think I would just like to continue our discussion. I think like Dato Azman mentioned, we are living in a VUCA world. How do you see the future challenges from manufacturing from your point of view? How do you see in the future? Because in the first session we somehow looks that the scenario is not so pretty well. I mean, how do you see the future challenges in manufacturing from your point of view?
Of course, we have skilled labor would be one of the issues. FMM actually has been working together with the universities. Like just now, I think the first session did mention about producing graduates that the industries cannot hire. So to mitigate that, FMM, KL Selangor, I'm speaking on the platform of as chairman for KL and Selangor. We work together with the universities, we have engagements and we sort of, tell them that, these are the fields that the industries require so that when the students graduate, they will not have, there won't be much issue for us to take them in, as firstly, they send interns to us and we tell them what are the things which industry requires. So actually it is more of a customization that they need to look at, from the academic field and not just producing graduates, academically, but not absorbed by, it's not easily absorbed by the industry. So we are, that is one of the things we're also looking at. And of course, FMM has this has a representation in the TVAT. So we also tell the government what are the industry needs, So of course, there's a supply and demand, factor again we need to look at. Yeah.
If I can add a bit, I think the challenge is that we are a bit slow in adopting new technology. Automation is actually IR 3.0, it's not 4.0. 4.0 is digitalization. Today, actually already in place, is IR 5.0. So we're still talking about 4.0. And automation is IR 3.0. We are not there yet. So now we're talking about people already moving into IR 5.0. If you probably heard about collaborative robot, it's more about collaboration with machines and also customization, high level of customization. That is IR 5.0. So 4.0 is already the past. In fact, the 3.0 even passed 20 years ago. So I think the challenge is that we need to embrace technology. We might not be the inventors, but we need to be the early adopters, at least, to be competitive. If not, we'll be wiped out. So we can see how the growth of Vietnam and other new economic countries coming up very, very fast. So I think we need to actually put our effort together to embrace technology as soon as possible. Thank you.
Dato Azman, what about in the logistics industry? How do you foresee the future challenges? I mean, with all kind of scenario that's going on.
Thanks for making us feel very inadequate, Dato Rashid. In order to move from 3.0 or 4.0 to 5.0 and all that, it involves a lot of zeros actually. So I think, and what you are doing is actually very good. If we can actually get the brick and mortars industries of our nation to actually start thinking along the lines of a long term, yeah, So the technology exists. You know, we have got good research going on at the moment in some of the universities, and I can vouch for it. Just now, one of the first places I visited was actually UMW punya booth lah, and I'm quite signed on lah by the fact that they're thinking about technologies that reduce costs for industries such as us. So no issues there, I think. But for us to say that, you know, we need to go into automation yesterday, it's going to be very, very difficult. And the fact was also discussed this morning that you know, the universities are not producing employable graduates. So going back to my mantra of if you remember anything that I said this morning, just make sure that you remember this lah, the value chain. Okay, because we need to work as a value chain. We cannot, you know, UMW buat sendiri, university buat sendiri, and nobody is talking to each other. I think that's very, very key for us to make this country of ours move, you know, in unison. We have to work together. So jangan short sendiri lah. Basically, you come up with something clever, but you can't commercialize it, and the industries don't need it. Basically, so what we are trying to do, because we are a 60-year-old port, basically. Is to effectively work together with universities and work in the sense that, you know, okay, you've got all your graduates, send them for internship with us. But we also are planning with the state government, certain agencies of the state government, even Lembaga Zakat Selangor for that matter, to make sure that these universities, these school dropouts, you know, as long as they know how to learn and as long as they know how to read and write, basically, there is opportunity to work in the port. But it's up to you how far you go. Yeah. So you don't fuss about, you know, where they came from. You know, we have a career path whereby, you know, of course, you know, you don't graduate, you don't have a chevening scholarship, whatever it is, fine, okay, fine. But, you know, if you can, you know, survive 2 years of driving a prime mover, which is air conditioned, by the way, and then you improve yourself, you become a yard crane operator, and then you become a key crane operator. And if you're not really into the physical bit of it, after your 2 years or whatever apprenticeship, you can also go administrative. Yeah, so you can go into vessel planning, berth planning. Eventually, you'll be basically doing the thing that people are talking about, which is, you know, digitization and automation and so on and so forth. So there is that bridging that we can actually do. We do have a center of excellence where we provide a 6-month bridger for graduates, for fresh graduates, so that we can make them employable, not just in Northport, but also in the industry as well. Yeah, that's something that we are paying more and more attention about. At the same time, you do have staff in your company, your respective organizations. It is difficult, yeah, to teach old dogs new tricks, but you have to. You have to. So let's have that agreement to retrain, to upscale our staff so that they can basically walk the walk and talk the talk with regards to industrialization or 3.0, 4.0, whatever it is. As long as you don't mention 7.0 to certain certain football fans, so you're safe lah, basically. But we do need to work together and prioritize. And I've just basically mentioned the two magic words there: the value chain. Work as a value chain. You know, work together. And the second one is basically our regional distribution hub element. I think if we do this, yeah, because you see, the thing is, once you become a hub, yeah, like the island of rocks down south, that's Singapore basically, right? Once you become a hub, manufacturing happens, yeah. They were just an island of rocks, but then, you know, they become biggest exporter of oil and all that. Not a single drop of oil there, you know. But if you can become a hub and get all this cargo moving, the industries will grow. So let's do that. You have a hub, the 12th busiest port in the world. You have large tracts of land. You have fantastic infrastructure in terms of the roads, the expressways, and so on and so forth. Every port is connected by rail. Yeah, yeah. So the airports are there. You know, so we actually have that ability, a head start, God's gift, basically, compared to other countries like Vietnam or Cambodia or Indonesia. These guys don't have what we have, right? So if we work together as one, and look at, you know, our regional capabilities instead of just being a jago kampung, basically, I'm sure we'll do well. Yeah, it needs to be orchestrated in such a way.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the floor? Or? Yeah, gentleman over there, please. Thank you.
My name is Ernest Azad. uh, my first maybe a comment is to Dato Azman Shah. Dato, I appreciate your pragmatic views on what is happening here, especially your comment on IR3 and IR5 and IR6. Now, what you have said about the state of our industries is that we have to match it with what we have. Now, for example, automation, IR3, there are a lot of automation is necessary because of the labor shortage. And this is something we can't just say we are behind time because it's only IR3, because we have to look at the situation in the nation. And of course, it's true, we have to proceed from there to the next level. I think we're taking part, but you have covered quite a bit of the areas that we have to look into. And Selangor State being advanced, have a lot of things to look into, especially infrastructure, land bank, and also facilities for dedicated factories in the manufacturing process. Thank you.
Any more? Yeah, any more question? I think if there's no question, I think on behalf of all the panelists, I would like to thank you all the panelists, and also I think for example, like Mike, we look at the ecosystem in terms of first FIRST, in terms of funding, infrastructure, regulatory skills, and also talent. So basically, in terms of building the ecosystem, all these the 5 elements need to come together, and as like Dato Azman mentioned, as a value change. And with that, thank you very much, and thank you very much, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.